The ruins. The colony was dead. Marcus Kane walked through the smoking wreckage, his boots crunching on shattered glass and burnt metal. The air smelled of ash and death. Overhead, the twin suns of Verith Prime cast long shadows across the devastation. Buildings that once stood proud now leaned like broken teeth against the blood-red sky. He shouldn't have come here. The contract was clear: retrieve the data core, avoid contact, get out. Simple. Clean. The kind of job that paid well and asked no questions. But nothing was ever simple. Marcus knelt beside a collapsed wall, his scanner humming softly. No life signs. No movement. Just the wind whispering through the ruins like a funeral song. The Cretan Empire had been thorough. When they decided to purge a colony, they left nothing behind. Nothing except ghosts. He stood, adjusting the rifle slung across his back. 43 years old, and he'd seen more death than most people could imagine. 2 decades as a soldier, another 5 as a mercenary for hire. The galaxy didn't forgive weakness, and Marcus had learned that lesson early. His calm crackled. "Kane, you got the package?" "Working on it," Marcus muttered, scanning the debris field. The data core was supposed to be in the Central Command building, or what was left of it. "Work faster. Intel says Cretan patrols are sweeping the sector. You've got 30 minutes, maybe less." Marcus didn't reply. He'd heard it all before. Hurry up. Move faster. Don't get caught. The life of a mercenary wasn't about glory, it was about survival. He picked his way through the rubble, his eyes constantly moving. Years of combat had taught him to watch for the smallest detail, a shadow that didn't belong, a sound out of place, the feeling of being watched. That's when he heard it. A whimper. Soft, almost lost beneath the wind, but unmistakable. Marcus froze, his hand instinctively moving to his sidearm. Survivors? Impossible. The attack had been 3 days ago. No one could have lasted this long without supplies. But the sound came again, a tiny, frightened cry. Against every instinct screaming at him to leave, Marcus followed the noise. It led him to a partially collapsed residential structure, its walls blackened by fire. He squeezed through a gap in the debris, his broad shoulders barely fitting. Inside, the darkness was almost total. Marcus activated his helmet's night vision, bathing the room in eerie green light. And there she was. A child. No more than 5 or 6 years old, by Cretan standards. She huddled in the corner, her blue-gray skin covered in dust, her large, luminous eyes wide with terror. Her delicate cranial ridges, barely developed, marked her as painfully young. In her arms, she clutched a torn piece of fabric, probably from her mother's clothing. She stared at Marcus like he was a monster. Maybe he was. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy. Brutal. Relentless. Unstoppable in combat. The Cretan Empire had learned that the hard way during the border wars. They'd pushed humanity too far, and humanity had pushed back, hard. But this wasn't a soldier. This was a terrified child who just lost everything. "Hey," Marcus said softly, deactivating his helmet. He wanted her to see his face, to know he wasn't a faceless killer. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The child didn't move. Her breathing came in quick, shallow gasps. Marcus slowly lowered himself to one knee, making himself smaller, less threatening. "My name is Marcus. What's yours?" No answer. Just those enormous eyes, filled with a fear so deep it made his chest tighten. He'd seen that look before. In the mirror. A long time ago, when he was young and still believed the galaxy was fair. "Listen," Marcus continued, keeping his voice gentle. "I know you're scared. I know you don't understand what's happening. But I need you to trust me, just for a little while. Can you do that?" The child's eyes flicked to the entrance, as if considering running. "There's nothing out there," Marcus said quietly. "Just ruins. Just silence." He didn't say the rest. "Everyone you loved is gone." Some truths were too cruel to speak. Slowly, carefully, Marcus extended his hand. "Come with me. I'll keep you safe." The child looked at his hand like it was a weapon. Marcus's calm crackled again. "Kane. 20 minutes. Where the hell are you?" He muted it without looking away from the girl. This was insane. He had a mission. A deadline. A galaxy that didn't reward mercy. Every second he stayed here was a second closer to getting caught by Cretan patrols, or worse. The smart choice was obvious: leave her. Complete the mission. Survive. But when Marcus looked at that terrified child, he didn't see an alien. He didn't see an enemy. He saw a little girl who needed help. And maybe, just maybe, he saw a chance to be something more than a weapon. "Please," Marcus whispered. "Let me help you." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the child reached out and placed her small, trembling hand in his. Marcus felt something break inside him, something hard and cold that had kept him alive for decades. And for the first time in years, he made a choice that had nothing to do with survival. He chose to care. "All right," he said, gently lifting her into his arms. She weighed almost nothing. "We're getting out of here. Together." The child buried her face in his shoulder, her small body shaking with silent sobs. Marcus activated his calm change of plans. "I'm coming out, but I've got a passenger." "What?" "Kane, the mission." "The mission just changed," Marcus said, his voice hard. "I'll be at the extraction point in 15 minutes. Be ready." He cut the connection before his handler could argue. Outside, the suns were setting, painting the ruins in shades of orange and purple. Somewhere in the distance, engines hummed, Cretan patrols, sweeping closer. Marcus adjusted his grip on the child and started running. He didn't know her name. Didn't know if she had family elsewhere. Didn't know what he was going to do with her. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. He wasn't leaving her behind. Not today. Not ever. The hunt. Marcus's lungs burned as he ran through the ruins. The child clung to him, her small fingers digging into his armor. She hadn't made a sound since they left the building, just buried her face against his chest and held on like he was the only solid thing in a collapsing universe. Maybe he was. His helmet's display flashed warnings. 3 patrol craft circling overhead. Ground units sweeping from the north. 12 minutes to extraction. Too far. Too many enemies. The math was simple, and it didn't favor survival. "Kane, where are you?" His handler's voice crackled in his ear, tight with stress. "The Crethians are jamming communications. We're running out of time." 2 kilometers out, Marcus gasped, vaulting over a collapsed wall. The child bounced against him, and he adjusted his grip, keeping her secure. "Tell me you've got a clear landing zone." "Negative. They're boxing us in. We might have to abort." "No." Marcus's voice cut like steel. "You stay on station. I'm getting to that extraction point, and you're getting us out. Non-negotiable." A pause. "Then, you're insane." "Probably." Marcus ducked into the shadow of a burned-out transport vehicle, pressing his back against the hull. His heart hammered against his ribs. "But I'm also your best operative, so trust me." He cut the comm and looked down at the child. Her eyes, those massive, luminous eyes, stared up at him. Even terrified, even traumatized, there was something in that gaze. Intelligence. Understanding beyond her years. She knew he was all she had. "I need you to be brave," Marcus whispered. "Just a little longer." "Can you do that?" The child nodded, just barely. Marcus felt something crack in his chest again, that armor he'd built over decades of war, splintering like cheap ceramic under sustained fire. He checked his scanner. The patrol patterns were predictable, military precision, sweeping grids, textbook tactics. The Crethians were good soldiers. Disciplined. Methodical. But they'd never fought humans. Not really. The border wars had taught the galaxy a hard lesson: humans didn't fight like other species. They didn't retreat when outmatched. Didn't surrender when outnumbered. They adapted, improvised, and kept coming until either they won or there was nothing left to fight with. It made humans terrifying. It also made them survivors. Marcus pulled a demo charge from his belt, setting a 10-second timer. He lobbed it into a cluster of debris 50 meters to his left, then grabbed the child and ran in the opposite direction. The explosion lit up the ruins like a miniature sun. Alarms shrieked. The patrol craft immediately vectored toward the blast, their searchlights cutting through the smoke. Marcus was already gone. He moved through the shadows like a ghost, using every trick he'd learned in 25 years of combat. Stay low. Stay quiet. Use the terrain. Make them chase phantoms. His scanner showed the patrol craft converging on the explosion site. The ground units would follow. He had maybe 3 minutes before they realized the deception. 3 minutes to cover 2 kilometers. Impossible. Unless you were human. Marcus ran. The child's weight should have slowed him down. Should have made him clumsy, vulnerable. But instead, it focused him. Every step, every breath, every decision, it all had purpose now. It wasn't about the mission anymore. It was about her. He crashed through the remains of a marketplace, his boots kicking up ash and dust. Ahead, the terrain opened into a clearing, the designated extraction zone. His ship would land there, grab them, and jump to hyperspace before the Crethians could react. If they made it. If. The child whimpered, and Marcus realized he was running too hard, jostling her. He forced himself to slow, just slightly. Almost there, he breathed. Almost. Plasma fire screamed past his head. Marcus dove behind a concrete barrier as the night exploded with light and heat. A full Crethian fire team positioned at the edge of the clearing. They'd anticipated his route. Smart. Human mercenary. A voice boomed across the ruins, amplified and cold. You are surrounded. Release the child and you will be allowed to leave unharmed. Marcus's jaw tightened. He knew that voice, Commander Thelkan, a Crethian officer with a reputation for efficiency and ruthlessness. They'd crossed paths before, during the border wars. Neither had forgotten. The child is an enemy of the Crethian Empire, Thelkan continued. Her family harbored insurgents. By law, she must face justice. Justice. Marcus had heard that word before, from 100 different species in 100 different languages. It always meant the same thing: convenient murder dressed in legal clothing. He looked down at the girl in his arms. She stared up at him, understanding none of the words but all of the danger. This was the moment. The choice. Walk away. Trade the child for safe passage. Complete the original mission. Survive. Or fight impossible odds for someone who couldn't possibly matter in the grand scheme of his life. Marcus thought of his sister. Dead 15 years now, killed in a colony raid he'd been too far away to prevent. He thought of the promise he'd made over her grave: never again. Never let someone die alone. He'd broken that promise 1,000 times. But not today. Commander, Marcus called out, his voice steady. You know who I am. You know what humans are capable of. So here's my counteroffer: walk away now, and I won't have to kill all of you. Silence. Then, incredibly, Thelkan laughed, a harsh, barking sound. One human against an entire fire team. Your species' arrogance is legendary, Kane, but this is suicide. Probably, Marcus agreed. He set the child down gently behind the barrier, meeting her eyes. Stay here. Don't move. I'll be right back. He drew his sidearm with one hand and primed a flashbang with the other. Last chance, Commander, Marcus said. Fire. The world became light and thunder. Marcus moved before the sound faded, pure instinct and muscle memory taking over. The flashbang had bought him 3 seconds of chaos. He used 2. The first Cretan soldier went down with a plasma bolt through the chest plate. The second never saw Marcus coming, a knife to the joint between helmet and armor, quick and silent. The others scattered, seeking cover, but Marcus was already among them. Close quarters. Brutal. Personal. This was what humans did best. He fought like a demon, like every story the galaxy told about his kind. Relentless. Unstoppable. Terrifying. But he wasn't fighting for conquest or glory. He was fighting for one small, frightened child who deserved a chance to live. Thelkan himself stepped forward, energy blade crackling to life. Impressive, Kane. But futile. They clashed in the center of the clearing, soldier against soldier, 2 warriors shaped by the same bitter wars. Marcus was faster, but Thelkan was stronger. The energy blade carved through the air, missing Marcus's throat by centimeters. Marcus rolled, came up firing. His shot sparked off Thelkan's shields. Then his scanner chirped. The extraction ship, 30 seconds out. Thelkan heard it too. His eyes narrowed behind his helmet. You cannot win, human. Don't have to, Marcus gasped. Just have to last 30 seconds. He charged. The next moments blurred together, pain, plasma fire, the smell of burning metal and ozone. Marcus felt something crack in his ribs, felt his armor scorched and dented. But he didn't fall. Humans didn't fall. Not when someone was counting on them. The extraction ship roared overhead, its landing thrusters kicking up a storm of dust and debris. The boarding ramp dropped. Marcus sprinted back to the barrier, scooped up the child, and ran for his life. Plasma bolts chased him across the clearing. One grazed his shoulder. Another burned through his calf. He didn't slow down. 10 meters. 5. 3. He leaped onto the ramp as the ship lifted off, anti-aircraft fire screaming past them. The child clung to him, her face pressed against his chest. And then they were airborne, accelerating toward the stars, leaving the ruins of Verith Prime behind. Marcus collapsed against the bulkhead, his body a symphony of pain. But the child was safe in his arms, her rapid heartbeat matching his own. She looked up at him, and for the first time, she spoke, one word in heavily accented standard. Thank you. Marcus closed his eyes, finally allowing himself to breathe. You're welcome. The stars stretched into lines as they jumped to hyperspace. But Marcus barely noticed. For the first time in 25 years, he'd done something that mattered. And it felt like coming home. He whispered. Outside the viewpo. The choice. The safe house was quiet. Too quiet. Marcus sat in the dim light of the cargo bay, his wounds bandaged, his body aching. The child, he still didn't know her name, slept on a makeshift bed he'd created from supply crates and thermal blankets. Her breathing was soft and steady, the first peaceful sleep she'd probably had in days. He should have been sleeping too. His body screamed for rest. But his mind wouldn't stop. You're an idiot, Kane. His handler's voice came through the comm, tired and frustrated. Do you have any idea what you've done? Marcus took a slow drink of water, wincing as it hit his bruised ribs. Saved a kid. Last I checked, that wasn't a crime. She's not just any kid. A pause. Heavy. Significant. We ran facial recognition against Cretan Imperial databases. Marcus, she's Commander Thelkan's daughter. The water bottle slipped from Marcus's fingers. What? Thelkan's family was living in that colony undercover. Intelligence suggests his wife was secretly feeding information to resistance groups. When the Empire found out, they ordered the entire colony purged, including Thelkan's own family. No exceptions. No mercy. Marcus looked at the sleeping child, his mind reeling. Thelkan's daughter. The same officer who tried to kill them both was her father. So he was trying to save her, Marcus whispered. When he said she had to face justice, he meant execution. The Empire doesn't forgive treason, even from children. Especially from the children of high-ranking officers. It sends a message. His handler's voice softened. Thelkan probably watched his whole family die, Marcus. And now he's hunting the only piece of them that survived, because if he doesn't, the Empire will kill him too. Marcus felt sick. There's more, his handler continued. The original mission, the data core you were supposed to retrieve. It contains evidence of the resistance network. Names, locations, everything. If that information gets out, thousands of people die. Including her. So what are you saying? Silence. Then, I'm saying you have a choice. Deliver the child to Cretan authorities. They'll pay triple your usual rate, enough to retire, Marcus. Enough to finally get out of this life. Or you disappear. Take her somewhere the Empire can't reach. Raise her, hide her, protect her. But you'll be a fugitive. Both the Crethians and our own people will hunt you. You'll never be able to come back. Marcus closed his eyes. Of course. It was always a choice. The universe seemed designed to force impossible choices on people who just wanted to survive. Behind him, the child stirred. She sat up slowly, rubbing her eyes. When she saw Marcus watching her, she didn't flinch anymore. Instead, she crawled over to sit beside him, her small hand finding his. Are you hurt? She asked in broken standard, pointing at his bandages. I'm okay, Marcus said softly. Don't worry about me. She looked at him with those enormous eyes, her father's eyes, Marcus realized now. Eyes that had seen too much death, too much loss. My name is Kira, she whispered. You never asked. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Kira. That's a beautiful name. My mama gave it to me. Her voice was small, fragile. She said it means, light in darkness. Marcus had to look away. His handler was still on the comm, waiting for an answer. The smart choice. The survival choice. The choice that would let him finally rest. He thought about his sister again. About the promise he'd made and broken so many times. And he thought about what it meant to be human. The galaxy knew humans as warriors. As conquerors. As relentless, unstoppable forces of destruction. They'd earned that reputation through blood and fire. But that wasn't the whole story. Humans were also the species that ran into burning buildings to save strangers. That threw themselves on grenades to protect their friends. That chose hope even when logic said there was none. Humans were the species that cared, even when it hurt. Especially when it hurt. Kane. His handler's voice. What's your decision? Marcus looked down at Kira. She was staring at him, waiting. Trusting him completely. This little girl who'd lost everything. Who had no one. Who deserved a chance to be more than a casualty of someone else's war. Marcus made his choice. Tell the Crethians I'm dead, he said. Tell them the ship crashed. Tell them whatever you want. But I'm gone. We both are. Marcus. And the data core? Destroy it. All of it. No one gets that information. The resistance can find another way. You're throwing away everything. Your career, your reputation, your life. No, Marcus said quietly, squeezing Kira's hand. I'm finally finding it. He cut the comm before his handler could respond. Kira looked up at him, confused but hopeful. What happens now? Marcus smiled, a real smile, the first in years. Now. We disappear. I know a place on the outer rim. Small colony, no questions asked. We can start over there. I'll teach you to read standard, maybe get you into a decent school. You'll have a normal life. A safe life. And you? Kira asked. What will you do? Marcus thought about that. What did retired mercenaries do? He'd never imagined living long enough to find out. I'll be whatever you need me to be, he said finally. A guardian. A teacher. A friend. Kira's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't tears of fear anymore. A father? The word hit Marcus like a plasma bolt to the chest. Father. He'd never considered it. Never thought he deserved it. But looking at Kira's hopeful face, he realized something profound. Maybe humanity's greatest strength wasn't violence or strategy or relentless determination. Maybe it was the ability to become more than what you were. To choose compassion over cruelty. To build instead of destroy. To love. Yeah, Marcus whispered, pulling her into a gentle hug. A father. Kira buried her face in his shoulder and cried, releasing years of terror and loss and pain. And Marcus held her, this small alien child who'd somehow become the most important thing in his universe. Outside the viewport, the stars streamed past as they jumped again, heading toward the outer rim. Toward anonymity. Toward peace. Behind them, the Crethean Empire raged. Felkan would search for them, Marcus knew that. A father would never stop looking for his daughter, even if it meant his own death. But Marcus also knew something Felkan didn't. Humans were very, very good at protecting the people they loved. And Marcus had finally found something worth protecting. 3 months later. The small house on Viridian's edge wasn't much, 2 rooms, a kitchen, a garden plot that Marcus was still learning to cultivate. But it had something he'd never had before, peace. Kira ran through the garden, laughing as she chased native butterflies. She'd gained weight, grown taller, learned to smile again. She attended the local school, made friends, lived like any normal child should. Marcus watched from the porch, a cup of tea cooling in his hands. His scars still ached in the morning, but that was fine. Pain reminded him he was alive. A ship descended in the distance, the weekly supply transport. Marcus tensed reflexively, his hand moving toward a weapon that wasn't there anymore. But it was just the transport. Just normal life on a frontier colony. Kira ran up to him, breathless and beaming. Papa. Look what I learned in school. She held up a datapad covered in basic script, clumsy but improving. Papa. She'd started calling him that last month. It still made his chest tight every time. That's great, kiddo, Marcus said, ruffling her hair. You're getting good. Will you read with me tonight? The story about the explorer? Of course. Kira hugged him and ran back to the garden. Marcus sat back, watching her play. Somewhere out there, the galaxy still raged. Wars were fought. Empires rose and fell. Mercenaries took contracts and collected blood money. But here, in this small corner of the universe, a broken soldier and an orphan child had found something rare, family. And maybe that was what being human really meant. Not the violence or the victory, but the choice to care. The refusal to give up on hope. The stubborn belief that one person could make a difference, even if that difference was just one small life saved. Marcus smiled, raising his tea to the distant stars. To second chances, he whispered. In the garden, Kira laughed. And for the first time in 25 years, Marcus Kane felt like he'd finally come home. Artist Palette 5 Leonardo AI Ultra-Realistic Image Prompts. Prompt 1. Emotional interior shot of cargo bay, exhausted human mercenary sitting against wall with small alien child sleeping on makeshift bed nearby, dim atmospheric lighting, soft blue glow from ship systems, ultra-realistic, photorealistic, 8K, intimate quiet moment, detailed textures. Prompt 2. Ultra-realistic close-up of human mercenaries' weathered hands holding small alien child's hand, emotional moment of connection, soft lighting, detailed skin textures, photorealistic, 8K, touching scene, shallow depth of field. Prompt 3. Cinematic shot of human mercenary embracing alien child protectively, both emotional, interior spaceship setting, warm lighting, ultra-realistic, photorealistic, 8K, father-daughter moment, tears visible, deeply emotional scene. Prompt 4. Wide establishing shot of small frontier house on alien planet with lush garden, twin moons and purple sky, peaceful rural setting, human mercenary sitting on porch watching alien child play in garden, ultra-realistic, photorealistic, 8K, serene atmosphere, golden hour lighting. Prompt 5. Heartwarming scene of young alien girl running through colorful alien garden chasing butterflies, laughing joyfully, human father figure watching from wooden porch in background, beautiful alien landscape, ultra-realistic, photorealistic, 8K, vibrant colors, hopeful atmosphere, cinematic composition.